From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Okay, board to reconvene. Good afternoon, Madam Clerk. Would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Gleason.
Here.
Supervisor Scrivener.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here. Madam Clerk, thank you, and good afternoon to everybody who's here with us. Welcome. County Council, will you please provide a report on action taken in closed session? Ms. Rezan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, good afternoon. In closed session this morning, you met on items 34, 35, 36, and 37. However, there is no reportable action.
Thank you, Ms. Rezan. Agendas for today's meetings are located at the tables at the back of the room for anyone wishing to follow along. We will begin by considering the consent agenda. All items listed with a CA, capital C, capital A, are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the board or public wishes to comment or ask questions. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item or items on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken on the consent agenda. A member of the board may remove any item from consent, and it will be considered as in its listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item. A member of the public may also comment on any closed session item. I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda and to adjourn as Kern County Board of Supervisors and reconvene as Kern Sanitation Authority. I'm sorry? Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Madam Clerk. The consent items begin on page 2 with item 5. It's also 1 and 2, correct? Not yet. Oh, excuse me. Thank you. So on page 2, item 5, on page 3, items 6 through 8, on page 4, items 9 through 16, on page 5, items 17 through 25, on page 6, items 26 and 28 through 31, on page 7, items 32 through 39, on page 8, items 40 through 46, on page 9, items 47 through 51. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on consent matters? Welcome. Please state your name for the record.
Adiyinka Glover, and I work at Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. Hello again. I know I was here this morning. I wanted to speak on consent agenda item 39.
Okay. What are your thoughts, please?
Okay. So based on the information provided in the agenda, it appears that the county's intent to declare the 999 East California and 1016 South Owen Street properties as surplus with the intent to sell the property may be subject to the California Surplus Lands Act because it involves the negotiated sale of county land to a private party potentially. We want to bring the potential applicability of the Surplus Lands Act to the county's attention for its consideration on this item. As you may know, the Surplus Lands Act requires that whenever a local agency sells or leases its surplus property, the agency prioritizes affordable housing, parks, recreation, and other vital state purposes. Specifically, before selling the property, the county must send a written offer of sale or lease of the property to the local housing authority, relevant state agencies, school districts, and school districts of their opportunity to purchase the land or lease the property for affordable housing, open space, parks, and recreational purposes, and again, among other purposes. And must provide those parties with at least 60 days to respond. The county must also enter into a good faith negotiation with any interested party, priority buyer that responds within 60 days, and must give first priority to the entity that agrees to develop housing where at least 25% of the units are affordable to lower income households.
Can I, Ms. Glover, I'm going to pull the matter matter from consent, okay?
Yes.
I'm going to call you back up.
Okay, great.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other matters that the public would like to comment on before we take a vote on consent? Okay. I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda and to adjourn as Kern Board of Supervisors, reconvene as the Kern Sanitation Authority.
Motion.
We have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. The board is now sitting as the Kern Sanitation Authority and will consider the KSA consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, we have two items, items C1 and C2. Are there any members of the public or authority that would like to pull an item off consent? Okay. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda and to adjourn as the Kern Sanitation Authority and reconvene as the Kern County Board of Supervisors.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion, a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Item number 3 this afternoon is public presentations. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters that are not on today's agenda, but are within the jurisdiction of the Kern County Board of Supervisors. I see a gentleman coming down. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Steve Montgomery, the chair of the Kern Chapter Sierra Club. I'm sure all of you saw this morning's Californian with John Cox's story about the economic advantages of electric vehicle transportation. That brings me to the point that the Sierra Club, this has a regular Saturday morning breakfast meeting where we have a program, and this coming Saturday, our program speaker will be Paul Geip, who's a leading authority on sustainable energy, and he will be speaking on electric cars, electric vehicle transportation. And that breakfast meeting is at Hodel's, 8 o'clock, out at on Knutson Drive, just off of Olive Drive, and the public is most cordially invited and encouraged to attend these breakfast meetings. And more information about this can be found on Mr. Geip's website. That's windwolves.org. That's win-wolves works. I'm sorry, windworks.org, win-works.org, and hope to see some of you folks there.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. I see Dennis Fox making his way down. I haven't seen you lately. Good to see you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Madam Chairman, and board members and staff.
Your name?
I'm going to talk to you today. It's mainly for you people who live in the woods and the fires there. I've sent a copy of an article of the New Yorker, of all places, regarding the fires in the forests of California and the climate change and one thing and another. A lot of it has to do with an overgrown forest because they can't log it because that's not nice. That's not nice. So we have people you can't cut the wood until it's burned, at which, because those logging companies are the wrong kind of people. So they will get it at salvage prices. It's giveaway. And it's promoted by the people who want to think they're saving the forest. Leftovers from the 1960s. You know, we have the old left, we have the new left, now we have the leftovers. So that has been a problem. I should take a look at it, especially wouldn't hurt to have a staff, because probably this summer they'll be looking at workshops and stuff like that. Okay, thank you.
Your name again?
Oh, I'm Dennis Fox.
Thank you.
I keep forgetting my name. Haven't lost my car
Happy New
keys
Year.
all day. Thank you.
Oh, that's good. Happy New Year to you, Dennis. It's good to see you. Thank you for your thoughts. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to move right along to board member announcements or reports. Colleagues, anything exciting? Okay, moving, sometimes no news is good news, right? We will move right along to item 27, and then we're going to take up, Ms. Glover, your item after this one, okay? So item number 27, which under the CAO is a proposed ordinance amending Titles 2 and 3 of the Kern County Ordinance Code to update titles of executive officers within the County Administrative Office, establish the Division of Countywide Communications, decommission the Board of Trade Advisory Board, and exempt Chief Communications Officer from the civil service system. Proposed addition of a new classification titled Chief Communications Officer. Item number 0073 at salary range 73.3, and proposed addition of one Chief Communications Officer and the deletion of one Director of Countywide Communications and one Marketing and Promotions Associate /2. Positions from Budget Unit 1812, effective February 1, 2020. Ryan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the board. That was a lot, but let me explain what's happening with this item. It's a big item because there are several places within the county code, all across the county code, where changes have to be made, whether it is position titles or other, and so that results in a rather long agenda item. It's government at its best, really, or at its worst. But and Madam Clerk, you'll have to instruct me at the end on specifically what I'll need to read in order to avoid having to pay more money than we'd like in putting these ordinance changes and publicizing them. Good afternoon. This item does a few things. First, it decommissions the Board of Trade Advisory Board, formally establishes the Division of Countywide Communications in ordinance. As you know, we've been practicing this way for the majority of time that I've been here. It established that Division of Countywide Communications with a Chief Communications Officer as its division head, and that's Megan Pearson. You all know her. This change is not only in line with recent recommendations of the grand jury, but also in line with staff's recommendations on necessary changes to modernize and improve our county's communications efficacy, importantly to include marketing and tourism. Again, we have been practicing this since pretty much since my start date here as your CAO. This item establishes the Chief Communications Officer as an at-will position. It currently is not. It's an executive level position within the CAO's office and includes the necessary budget adjustments to support this position, including the elimination of an existing budgeted position within my office for an overall savings of $37,000 annually. Third, over the course of the last 3 years, we've been working to restructure the CAO's office to better align with work toward countywide goals and objectives, to establish an executive team and structure within the office to provide better clarity of roles and responsibilities, and to position the office to retain and attract talent, all of this in line with your board's requests that we follow Lean Six Sigma principles in our management. The item before you this afternoon correctly amends County Ordinance Code to mirror title changes that have been made and are being practiced by my office, implemented over the last 3 years. I'm happy to take any questions and provide any responses to anybody who may have questions from the audience.
Ryan, thank you very much. I have a sense that there are some people here who would like to come and give their input and insight into this issue, and I certainly appreciate it. So I see Ms. Parker and others. When it makes sense, please come down. And Mr. Baldwin, will you be coming forward? Okay, it's good to see you.
Thanks, Jim.
Hi, Linda. Yeah,
Yeah, let's throw me under the bus.
welcome to my world. Yeah.
Chairman Perez, board members, my name is Linda Parker, and, you know, I have been on the advisory board, board of directors, whatever we were called, for probably over 15 years. Mr. Baldwin has probably been on for 25 years. We know that we made a difference. And I think what is so upsetting to all of us who are on the advisory board is we weren't talked to at all about this. I got a call on Thursday knowing the agenda was coming out, and I saw it. And so we have conversed with one another. This is not something we believe is the right thing to do. We believe in what we did for tourism, marketing, and filming for the last years that I have been on. Unfortunately, for the last year and a half, with our pushing and pressing to have a meeting, we never did. That was always usually the process of what the county was doing. When we had an executive director like Rick Davis, Barry Zoller, we met monthly. Teresa Hitchcock, we met. We discussed things that were going on in all of your districts throughout the county from a tourism perspective and what those people felt that the county should be doing to help them promote their areas. You know, I'm 58 years old. I don't do the Twitterverse. I don't do Instagram. I don't do all of those things. I'm sorry, I just do it regularly. And those are the directions that you're wanting to go in. You know, we have so much to offer in this county, and if we lose those economic tourism dollars, that's going to be a travesty because we're also having issues with an oil industry that could potentially go away. You know, wind and solar is doing great, but we could do more. But the thing is that we believe this should not happen. And to be not only not discussed with as to being taken away or to be, you know, thrown out with the bathwater, we don't believe that that's something that should happen from a county perspective. You're going to start seeing a lot of the surrounding communities being very upset because this is going to happen. No one knows. What are you going to do with the grants? How is that going to be chosen? We've had a very difficult time for the last so many years in choosing those because it's not an easy task. It's something that has taken a lot of us who've been on there for a number of years. You know, we finally have figured it out, and we thought we were very equitable about it. But that has to continue as well for the promotion of this county. You know, Kern River Valley has so much to offer. Tehachapi has so much to offer. You have the spaceport, you have technologies, you have, you know, the oil museums. You have so many things in each one of your districts that we can't not promote or take that time to promote. I think that the Office of Communications gets so bound by all the other things this county has to do that you really truly need someone to focus on marketing, filming, and the grants that are going to be given. So from our perspective, you know, why haven't they reached out to us to ask our opinion? That's one of my biggest concerns. We probably could have brought some ideas to the table, but we weren't addressed. We weren't asked, any of us, you know, till a few days ago. And I think that's a travesty. It's discourteous to all of us who have been on this advisory board for decades. And we believe there should be further discussion before you just, you know, dissolve it. And that's what we believe. So thank you. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you, Linda, before you go. Jim, would you say that characterizes your sentiment? Yes. Thank you. And Linda, have you spoken with other members of the
Yes, I
body?
have. David Brust, he couldn't be here today. He's in training. Stacy Havner, she responded by saying, figured they were going to do that. They haven't done much of anything. And then Karen Northcutt, unfortunately, is on her way back. Well, not unfortunately, she's on her way back from New Orleans, and she was very upset about it as well. And she wanted to be here to say some things, but she was not able to.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Parker.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time. Okay, Ryan, could you respond to those concerns, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board. I've got something that's been drafted up. We've been in closed session, so I want to, I know some of the members of the Board of Trade, one of them in particular in the audience is participating today in some exchanges on social media where I reviewed the thread. I'm going to try to answer some of the things that I took out of that thread on Facebook to try and provide some clarity on where we are. First of all, to start off, you appointed me as your CAO, and part of my responsibility is economic development. I have staff that does that. We completed a countywide branding initiative. We were instrumental in getting the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino here. We were instrumental in Amazon coming here. We were instrumental in L'Oreal coming here. When you add up all of that job creations, it's thousands of jobs, one time and ongoing in a sustained way. None of that involved the Board of Trade. None of that. The Board of Trade has been involved with this community for a great many years, and they have provided a lot of value to this community during that time. But I can tell you, as your appointee in this position, they are no longer providing the kind of value that requires their continued existence, the Board of Trade Advisory Board. The suggested change before your board today regarding the Board of Trade is driven by our desire to be more effective and efficient with the work that we do. The current Board of Trade was established over 100 years ago. It's the only Board of Trade that in existence of all 58 counties. And in the intervening years has changed quite drastically. Over the last 10 years, technology has changed how all of us search for information, receive information, and it has given the county a platform to tell our story in ways that used to be unimaginable. The staff that has always served the Board of Trade is continuing to do that work. Nothing's changing. None of the work we do changes. None of the grants are changing. That work continues, and I would argue with great result. Earlier today, again, there was some misinformation posted about this item that I want to clarify. This was on social media. The most important thing I can tell you is that the work that has been done for the last few years is not changing at all. The functions we performed yesterday will be performed tomorrow and every day after that. But I want to clearly spell out that first, the Board of Trade Advisory Board's sole responsibility the last several years has been tourism and promotion. There was a Facebook post this morning that incorrectly linked the Board of Trade to economic development. The economic development function of the Board of Trade was transferred to the Kern Economic Development Corporation nearly 2 decades ago. In addition, we have other staff within the CAO's office who are dedicated to economic development, and I would add they've been incredibly successful in the last few years, as I pointed out. They, in partnership with many others, have done all the things I pointed out earlier, not to mention helping bring Lightning in a Bottle Music Festival, which is 25,000 people from all over, all 50 states and all over the world here into Kern County. That was the job of our economic development team. Next, we're 1,000% more engaged with our communities today than we were just 2 years ago, quite literally. A little over 2 years ago, we, the communications staff in my office, developed a concentrated social media strategy that covers all social platforms and ensures we hit the following areas: tourism, community partnership, government, education, board meeting updates, county services, fiscal responsibility, major county initiatives like Launch Kern, our Lean Six Sigma initiative. Since that time, we've seen 1,000% growth. That's 1,000% more followers than we had 2 years ago. And for the record, we did not buy those followers. We earned them through content alone. So there's a content development aspect to this. It's very important. There is a concern that this is the county turning its back on tourism. That is patently false, and we can turn to the tourism numbers that we have to respond. The Runyon report breaks all of this information down for us, and while I could go through tons of data, it's better if I call out 2 points. First, we have witnessed an increase in visitor spending, which is our favorite kind of spending. The past 2 years, which means we have recovered from the hard hit and the drought that had occurred on our tourism economy. In fact, we had more in visitor spending in 2018 than any other year since 2010. Second, the travel-generated employment in Kern in 2018, we recovered from the 2016 loss associated with the drought and now have the highest numbers since 2010. A point of clarification, the current report only goes back to 2010, hence the reason I'm using that as our baseline. Next is a concern that this will negatively impact our communities. My staff attends every Chamber of Commerce meeting in this county, every one there is. Every CVB meeting that there is. They know the leaders of these chambers, and they are part of their communities. We recently learned, out in Ridgecrest we were attending the CVB meetings and not the chamber, so we've added that too, which I just said. We go to Delano, Shafter, Wasco, Arvin, Taft, Lamont, Ridgecrest, Tehachapi, Kernville, Kern River Valley, all of those. We get information about what's happening in their areas and we highlight it for them. We get feedback from folks in Tehachapi, Shafter, Delano, and a dozen nonprofits that we're driving traffic their way. It's very positive. I get calls and texts weekly asking if someone could add something to our list. We know for a fact that the people are seeing what we're putting out and participating, and they're participating because of it. I've had chamber leaders call me and say that they want to make sure their events get in weekly around the county. Highlights that Megan does because it gives them all a lift. They see a real result. On top of that, we actually run spots on county TV quite regularly. That same content is put out all throughout social media and all the events happening throughout the county. We put a slide in the carousel and they'll randomly air during our broadcast. I'm sure you've seen all of that. Next, there was also a concern that the Film Commission is going away. It's not going away. Nothing's changing. Film Commission stays. We have a film commissioner. He works in my office. His name's David Chavez. He does an amazing job in helping production companies get their permits completed, and he often helps them find locations. We are compiling 2019 numbers now, but in 2018, we did more permits than we did the year before. We completed 40 commercials, 9 corporate videos, 10 documentaries, 16 feature films, 17 music videos, 33 photography shoots, 20 television shows, and 3 travel videos. While the state has an economic investment calculator for those, we believe it's seriously inflated. However, I can say that all of the work injected millions of direct and indirect travel spend in our communities. We get more and more calls every day from production companies down south looking for better options, and our staff answers that call every day, and we have no intention of stopping. Lastly, and probably the most important item to the communities, is the grant program. As we know, the fiscal deficit and mitigation strategy had us all taking cuts to our budgets. However, we maintained grant funding to all these communities and never changed it. But let me say that again, in a 4-year fiscal emergency, we prioritized our communities. Those grants that we give out are funded again this year in whole, and we're excited about making that process better than the year before. I believe we should have a process of continual improvement with regard to those grant dollars and making sure they're aligned with key objectives of this board with regard to economic development. While I understand the concerns that this change may negatively affect tourism and community support, I'll tell you that that's unfounded. Not only did the grand jury, a separate body, find this in their research to be untrue, but our own communities are seeing it differently based on the feedback that I'm getting from them. We provide monthly updates to every community through their chamber meetings, ensuring that this information is available to everyone in the community. And of course, we highlight it through our web and social platforms. I want to apologize to some of the members of the Board of Trade that we weren't able to talk to. We did meet with the chairman, Mr. Baldwin. Mr. Baldwin, we met with you for about, I don't know, it was a good hour a couple of months ago, and told him what we were doing here. And you were in agreement with us at that meeting, Megan and I. I mean, that was our takeaway. And we thank Mr. Baldwin for his years of service to the Board of Trade. He's been a real leader with the promotion of this county, and we made sure to thank him at that time. We did call, reach out to members of the Board of Trade when this agenda item was posted. I think we got through to some, not with others. I don't think we got on the call and the messages we left, we didn't get calls back. That said, this is a 2-vote item. This is an ordinance change, so we are here today for a first vote, and we can delay as long as we can the second vote by your board until we have a chance to sit down face to face with everybody to let them know what it is we're doing exactly. And we can come back, and those who weren't here may have a chance to come back at the next vote and speak their mind. I've got other stuff here I could read, but I just want to say that we are not doing anything here other than decommissioning a body that I, as your CEO, don't find value in. That's a big disconnect. It's a big disconnect. And it's not because I don't value economic development or tourism or promotion of this county. I think it is among the priorities. That is why I hired, for the first time ever, a communications professional in my office to run countywide communications and to work with other departments to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support them in their communications efforts. We are simply asking your board to help us evolve as a county, to make changes that we believe are necessary, I'm asking you to not make changes that I believe are necessary because it's just the way we've always done it. I understand that there are people that care about their communities that have been on this board for a while, and I thank them for their service, and we can find ways to continue to work with them as ambassadors of their community. I would even go as far as saying if your board wants to continue using them as an advisory body to look at grants and how they're distributed, that's fine. But holding meetings and spending staff time and resources and paying folks to show up for meetings for a Board of Trade when I don't believe it's necessary to achieve our goals and objectives at the county I just don't think we ought to keep doing it. So that's my report. I'm being as honest and as transparent, as forthright as I possibly can be. I'm sorry that some people don't feel the same way, but that's the view of the world from our office.
Thank you, Ryan. That's helpful. Are there other members of the public, or Linda, would you like to come back and respond to what you've heard? You don't have to, but certainly want to receive as much input as possible. Thank you, Linda, very much. Okay, well then I'm going to close the public hearing portion and come back to my colleagues for action or direction. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
We're in the queue here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you. First, I want to say I value and thank the members of the Board of Trade for their service. Jim has been my appointee, and he was Barbara Patrick's appointee before me. Darlene Mulkey did a great job. Other members of the board continue to do a good job. So I value all of your service, and thank you all for the endless hours you've spent and the energy you poured into it. Strategies change, and tactics change. Circumstances change. So it doesn't bother me that we might have a shift in the way we go about accomplishing our goals. That's just the normal part of the evolution of how organizations work. We tasked the CAO's office and all of our department heads with trying to find ways to operate in a more lean, efficient, cost-effective manner, and that's caused the certain departments to be brought together and operate under one hat as opposed to having two directors before. Some of those have worked really well. Some of those the public struggles with. I know that some of the public wish that we still had a separate Parks Department, for example. But we have good people who are striving to do a good job, and we will, the parks are really on an upswing. So I'm not here to talk about parks. And Jeff, I don't want you to think I'm bagging on parks. But the public has a different perception of different. Jeff Hill's the director of General Services in the Parks Department's under his wing. So it's not about that. But there will be different perceptions about it, and I'm okay that things change. And some of this is a reaction to our direction to find new ways to operate more effectively. I do think that communication is critical. And when the very beginnings of suggestions about this were made aware to me, I made it very clear to the CEO's office that I thought that communication was very, very important to make sure that the Board of Trade understood what we were doing. And that's been many, many months. So it's very unfortunate, and I don't know, I'm not suggesting this is all that was done, but if the only reach, other than to Mr. Baldwin, if the only reach to the others was at the very last minute, that's unfortunate. We had many months to prepare for that. So if that's the case, then I think that an apology should be made, and we should reach out to them now. Because this is the part of, not only should we thank them for their service so they don't think that they didn't matter. I don't think it was an intentionally poor choice of words, but to say that it has no value can be taken many different ways. There's great value to it, as evidenced by the fact that we're going to chase the very same things that the Board of Trade did to make sure they still get done because they're very valuable. There's just another way to do them. But the part of the communication that I think we're missing is there are little nuances that each of the designees on the appointees by various board members know their communities very well. And I think there's invaluable information to be gained by interviewing and discussing and asking for a download from each of those appointees about all the little crooks and crannies and nicks and hollows and things like that that are in those districts that they would know about that the CEO's office might not know about. So I think making sure that there's a very extensive conversation with those appointees to make sure that not only do they know that we value them, but that their observations and their expertise, their experience rather, is invaluable to us. So I hope that we make a real effort to do that if this were to proceed. If you want to respond to any of those, I wasn't impugning your effort, but I don't know what the effort was, other than I have been assured, and it is confirmed that you spoke with Mr. Baldwin. But anything else you want to say, or do you want me just to turn it back to the chair?
On behalf of my office, I apologize that the communication wasn't better with the Board of Trade Advisory Board members.
Thank you, Ryan. Supervisor Gleason.
Thanks, appreciate it. Thank you for coming, Jim, Linda, and Karen, who's going to be watching it tomorrow. Karen is winging her way back from New Orleans. She called me last night in a emotional kind of response to what's going on, because it was the first time she heard about it, and I told her to go have fun in Bourbon Street, and she did, and so she's winging her way back today. She was emotional. She was passionate about Board of Trade. So I want to tell you a couple things. First of all, the item itself, 27, is a good item. I like the restructuring of the county offices. I like the idea that where we're going. My issue that I'd like to address is the decommissioning of the Board of Trade Advisory Board. And I want to talk about it. I don't disagree with what's been said, but I just want to talk about how we go about implementing change and how large organizations manage change effectively, because change is always necessary, and some change works really well and some doesn't, and a lot of times it has to do with our attitude approaching change and how successfully we are in bringing everybody on board this change and truly making change meaningful in the best of ways. Because it certainly sounds from what you said, Ryan, that the change is working and we are more effectively increasing our exposure to economic development and other aspects of the Board of Trade, and it's obvious from the metrics you presented that it's undeniable. Karen Northcutt's been with the Board of Trade for 18 years. Jim, 25. Linda, 15. 11 for Darlene, 11 for Stacy, 6 for Mr. Spurgeon. I can't believe it's 6 years he's been on that board. 3 years for Kathy, and I think I forgot Mr. Brust, David, who's been on for 5 years. All of you, thank you very much. You performed a tremendous function for us. We're very thankful for what you've done. At those times and in those moments, the Board of Trade was very successful in bringing in millions of dollars of business and getting Kern County on the map. And without the Board of Trade being actively involved in what we did and how we were growing and where we were going, we would not be where we are today. We're actually developing a communications office on the shoulders of the work that the Board of Trade has done for years, and I don't think you feel that. And I want to offer my support in trying to help you understand that that's the perspective of this board. That personally, I don't know what the board, I can only speak for myself, of course. The grand jury is analyzed some things. I agree with their assessments. I think the Board of Trade needs to change. I think evolution is a good thing. I think organizational change is difficult, challenging, but necessary. I think that the technologies that both you talked about, Linda, and Ryan talked about are an integral part of our lives. Maybe not mine and maybe not yours, but it's an integral part of our future. It needs to be completely embraced and brought in, and we need to celebrate that, and we need to celebrate the change that we have to go through to get to where we are. I want to talk for a real quick minute about the great work that the Board of Trade has done in the Kern River Valley especially. I come from the outskirts where you guys have had a conspicuously significant impact into the tourism trades and to the economies of the Kern River Valley and Ridgecrest. You know, Doug, I don't know if Doug is aware of this. I'd assume that everybody was. I'm going to have to go call Doug this week and talk with him, stop by. But I know that you guys have had a significant impact just in the time I've been associated with the Board of Trade. I also recognize the fact that change is here. Change is just here. It's time to change. It's time to move on. But it's also time to reflect and appreciate and thankful and gain your inputs to how that change is managed. So I want to take a moment out to thank you for that. And Ryan, you talked about evolving. Someone talked about evolving. I don't know who it was. But I think of evolution, proper evolution, it has to be done together. And I think it's better off that we incorporate your thoughts and concerns and your how we go about this. And I'm going to vote in favor of the ordinance, the first reading, but I will only vote for the favor of the ordinance of the second reading if I know and I'm satisfied that we've gained your input and we've gained your understanding of where we're trying to take this county and how we're trying to take it, and that we stubbed our toes with the Board of Trade in that I believe that we did not do sufficient work to bring your thoughts and concerns into our changes. And I appreciate Mr. Alsop's sincere apology. I know it's not easy to sit up here and say, you know, after all the things he does and we as a county do can't get everything right, can't be about 1,000, but we want to try. So my thoughts are I'm going to vote yes for this. I'm going to expect that we have a get-together to understand better how that is making sure we're dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, and we get the second vote in a place where we want it to be. I'm glad to hear we're still having community input. We need more of it. I'm glad to see we have a process for managing those grants, and there's no changes to the way we're developing our economic development, our tourism, or our broader sense of community. Finally, I just want to thank Jim for 25 years. 25 years, that's if this passes, and if this 25 years, 15 years, Linda, thank you very much. I can't tell you, I've only been a part of it for 7, but I can't tell you that I want you to know that I appreciate it and that I recognize that without you and the work you guys have done, we would not have this, which is what we want to grow to and what we want to become. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Gleason. Supervisor Couch.
I agree with what Supervisor Gleason just said. I'm going to support this, but I would like to talk about when it's going to come back. We just went through a similar situation where we brought an ordinance back, but we gave an extended period of time for some discussions to take place before it came back, and ultimately it changed a lot. So I'd like to suggest that we give that same opportunity to the members of the Board of Trade to meet with you in your office, Megan, others, whoever it's appropriate for, to maybe better make their case so that we understand it instead of just allowing them a few minutes at a board meeting to do that. I appreciate the apology for Ryan that you gave them, but I'd like to extend them that courtesy as well. They may have information that they weren't able to put together they would like us to have. So can we talk a little bit about when typically you would bring it back in a week? Is that right? You think what's an adequate amount of time to have the type of discussion I just described? Is that what you were driving at a moment ago, something like that? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
A month?
We don't have a meeting, well, I'm sorry, we're in January. Let me look at my calendar. We have a meeting on the 4th, the 11th, and the 25th, am I right?
Yes.
Okay. We're skipping the 18th. Coming back on the 25th?
Madam Chair, yeah, I mean, we could come back. This is a item that has a lot in it that I'd like to get done. Board of Trade, Advisory Board, decommissioning is one
Can we
little
parse those out and bring back a portion of it?
I'm happy to stall the whole thing and work in earnest to have everybody come into the room and have a conversation about where we're going.
Well, does it have to be a package? Everything else that's in this item, does it have to be all one action?
No.
Well, what I'm trying to do is do quickly what you want to get done, not make you have to wait on the elements that aren't really subject to the Board of Trade.
Great, okay.
In other words, can you bring those items back in a week, and can we bring the Board of Trade item back on the 25th of February?
Supervisor, is that a request for a continuance on the entire item, so no vote today?
No, I was asking if there's no, I'm ready to, I think we can move on the first reading,
Okay.
but the second reading, well, if it's all one ordinance, then I guess it all has to come back at the same time. But if these are separate ordinances, but they're all under one item on our agenda, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's going to be noticed.
Supervisor Couch, through the chair, could we have just one moment to confer? They're in
Sure.
one ordinance, but they're separate sections within one ordinance, so it might be possible to parse it out. Madam Clerk is looking at me skeptically, but
if that's a lot of trouble and hassle, then just skip the question. I just thought it might be helpful.
Jim?
I'll
come on
stop
down,
helping
please.
you so much if you want me to.
I'm fine just waiting
Okay.
on the whole thing.
Okay.
I will seek a meeting. Yeah.
I see
if
Mr.
that's
Baldwin
okay.
coming down, and I know that Supervisor Scrivener would like to speak too, but we'll take some comments from you and then hear from Supervisor Scrivener.
Thank you.
My name is Jim Baldwin, 25-year appointee to the board. This needs to go forward. I would say that the only thing that needs to be done at this point, in my never to be humble opinion, my recommendation is that the Board of Supervisors members be brought together and be told what's going on and show them some respect. That's all. That's all that needs to be done. Board of Trade, sorry,
Okay.
at the Board of Trade.
I thought you were advocating for us. I was
am.
really
I
getting
always
excited,
advocate for
Jim.
you guys. Mr. Alsip and Ms. Parson came to my office and spoke with me. I asked them how they were going to communicate this to the other members. They had not planned to do that. I asked them to have a meeting, to do that, and they said, yes, we could do that. And then that hasn't, for whatever holidays or all that kind of thing, didn't get happen until today. So that needs to be done.
Okay.
Just to show them some respect, like Supervisor Maggart recommended, and all of you have been respectful. When I was here 5 years ago, everything I told you that was going to happen up to and including today has happened. All right? So I will tell you the last thing I told them, that if in the future this is not working, hopefully somebody won't sweep it under the table and have enough grace to say, we need to take another look, all right? And if it works, great, because I can assure you that the members of the Board of Trade are only interested in that it working. That's all they care. If you don't want my input, don't ask or don't have a meeting to ask it. That's not a problem. None of us will have our feelings hurt because nobody asked our opinion. And if we have a meeting or if you want our opinion, then you can ask. I never agreed. I'm an Okie, but I'm not a dumb Okie. I do understand why you're doing it. I haven't been without understanding. I just think there's a better way to do it. If this is the better way, outstanding. So vote, move it along, get it done as quickly as possible, but show the board some respect. Today, I'm resigning from the board. Brenda and I just retired, and I got
Congratulations.
other things to do.
I'm sure you do.
So I will be writing a letter to make it official. I've enjoyed being on the board. Thank you all for your support, not only of me on the board, but at BARC and as a community member for listening to what I have to say. Thank you for all that you do. I wouldn't have your jobs on a silver platter. And I wouldn't have your job on a silver platter.
Hence why you advocate for us.
But I do advocate for you to do it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you have any questions of me, I'll be glad to ask.
Thank you. Supervisor Scrivener. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, Jim, thank you for being so gracious. We truly do respect everything that you've done on the board and in the community in both your professional capacity and the volunteer work you've done. And you've been a good friend to, I think, all of us, and so we appreciate that very much. Linda, same thing. You know, I know that you care about Kern County just as much as anyone, and you are very diligent in that grant process. I know that it's always important to you to make sure that the process is fair and it achieves objectives that are important to this board and important to the county and also important to the community, the communities that we all represent. I am going to support this, and I'll tell you why. Because the times, I'm going to use a cliche. I hope didn't want to have to do that. But times do change, and I think that this county has responded to changing times very well, particularly in the last few years. I have confidence in the recommendations from the county administrative office because I think that they have shown that that confidence is well placed in them. The outreach, the communications, the promotions that Megan, Ms. Person's done since she's come on board, and the entire CAO's office, I think really has helped to bring us in to those changing times and in a way that's been very effective. And so that, because I have confidence in what they've done, I think that this is a good move for us. But I really do think that it is very unfortunate that you were made to feel that we didn't value your input and didn't value the job that you did. That I very much regret, and I think that you have received a sincere apology. But I want you to know that that was the thing that was really difficult about this, because I see this as a good thing, but the way in which you were made to feel that we didn't value your opinion or didn't reach out to the board members in a timely manner and effectively, that truly was unfortunate. And so I am sorry for that. But I do think that this is a good move for us to make, and so I will support staff's recommendation. And Jim, thank you for thank you for your blessing in us moving forward with this, and I completely understand where you're coming from. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Scrivener. Any other remarks? Linda, I hope that addresses your legitimate concerns, and thank you for bringing them to our attention so eloquently. You are an incredible public speaker. Really, thank you for your graciousness and your firmness in what you believe. We needed to hear that, so thank you. Ryan, you had something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, I wanted to again apologize, and some of these, oftentimes there's so many things we're jumping from, certainly me, I'll just talk about myself, jumping from in this role. Sometimes you get, the wave kind of swallows you and you're just sort of, I definitely think that, especially in this community, in this town, in Kern County, there needs to be a priority made on communication with people, because I think that that's a community value that we have, and so I'm disappointed that it wasn't done better. Certainly for these folks, Linda and Jim, to the extent Jim had complaints about it. I will say that we did visit Jim. He did say exactly what he said up there to me. Anyway, I just wanted to again say that I do want to offer up thoughts on bringing this back. I will read this in. You'll vote. We'll bring it back on the 11th of February and work really hard following this meeting to try and put together a meeting with everybody, if that's okay with Linda and everybody. Okay. So bringing it back, I'll plan on the 11th. If the extraordinary happens, we'll bring it back the following week, but we're going to target the 11th, or do I need to stick to the 11th? All right, I'm going to stick to the 11th. If we get to the 11th and we need to change, we'll let you know on the 11th. But right now, we'll bring it back on the 11th, and I will plan on having a meeting to discuss the future of this county's communications and really have it focused on giving Linda and the rest of the Board of Trade members a real level of confidence that the ball will not be dropped going forward, certainly with our outlying communities, making sure that they are cared for, acknowledged, thought about going forward. That's it. So with that, I'm happy to read in what you need to vote on, if that's okay. There's a specific thing in here that I need to read.
Let me ask Ryan if there are any other members of the public who
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
weigh in. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I do hear from my colleagues' support of this measure, and I so appreciate your graciousness, Ryan, and how we're going to address the issues as they were raised today. I appreciate that. So if you could please read the ordinance, and
Yes, ma'am.
we'll entertain a motion.
Therefore, it is recommended that your board approve.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Please, I keep forgetting to look at this screen. Forgive me, Supervisor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Supervisor.
Supervisor Maggard.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Because if it's all right with you, why don't you read in what you need, because I want to make a motion and then have a direction
Got it.
after you read what the motion needs to say.
It is recommended that your board approve, waive the reading of, and introduce the proposed ordinance amending Titles 2 and 3 of the Kern County Ordinance Code, designate the office of County Counsel as the official to prepare a fair and adequate summary, and direct clerk of the board to publish pursuant to Government Code Section 25.124. Approve the addition of the clarification titled Chief Communications Officer, salary range of 73.3. Approve the addition of one Chief Communications Officer and the subsequent deletion of the Director of Countywide Communications and Marketing Associate effective February 1, 2020, and refer to the Human Resources Division to amend the departmental positions and salary schedule.
So I would make that motion, and I'd like to make two directives then, so that they're part of the record. First is that we would, once the second reading occurs, prepare resolutions of thanks and congratulations to each of the members of the Board of Trade for their many years of service.
Great idea.
And then the second direction is that staff will report back to us the substance of this discussion you've had with them. I would like to hear specifically how that went. So that'd be my motion.
Second.
Excellent direction. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Jem. Congrats on your retirement. Mick made the second.
Thank you. The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay. Thank you. We are going to move to item number 39, and Ms. Glover's been patiently waiting. Thank you. This is a proposed resolution declaring the intent to sell surplus property, approval of bid documents for disposal, and authority to advertise and sell real property located at 999 East California Avenue and 1016 South Owen Street in Bakersfield. I see Mr. Hill has come forward and will provide us with some information. Thank you.
Yes, members of the board and chair, Jeffrey Hill, Chief General Services Officer. The item before you today is, as you said, to identify the piece of property on 999 East California Avenue as surplus. By way of, and authorize us to begin the process of advertising it for sale. By way of a little background, this piece of property was given to us in 1949 or 1947 to, with the intent to use the entire parcel that we were given as a parks piece of property. Subsequent to that, it was transferred to the city of Bakersfield for them to develop, or for them to use as a park, except for one corner of that overall piece of property. On that corner piece of property, we built a veterans building, and there's an ancillary building as well. And it served in that purpose for a very long time. And it is no longer used, that corner piece of property is no longer used actively as a veterans building. We've checked with the Kern County vets, and we have a letter from them saying that they've canvassed the veterans in the area, and it is not being used actively by anybody and hasn't been for over 10 years. That satisfies county councils. There's some very specific requirements with respect to the sort of sanctity of veterans buildings. That satisfies them that it's no longer being used, and we can now use it for other things. So we find that the property is really surplus. As I only know her by Addie Inc. I don't know your last name.
Glover.
Glover. Ms. Glover said there are changes in the law regarding the determination that a piece of property is surplus. It's a change in California law. All of those requirements are being met, have been met, and will be met during the course of this sale. We have identified and notified all appropriate people according to the changes in the law, both in December and most recently last week. Those include additional HUD notifications for people and developers who anticipate that they may use a piece of property, a piece of surplus property, as low-income housing. That's what was hoped to be accomplished by the recent change in law. So we have a piece of property that's really underused, that is not being used for its originally intended purpose. and we'd like to get rid of it. We're complying with all the laws. We've worked with county council to develop the language in the documents, as well as to monitor our process, and we're in compliance with the current law. So,
were you able to hear some of the remarks earlier? I appreciate your information. I'm going to ask Ms. Glover to come forward. You did have more remarks. I did not mean to cut you off, but the matter was no longer appropriate for the slight time that we give to these issues on the consent agenda. So I would like to hear from you. And Jeff, if you can have a seat or add what you'd like to now, we'd certainly like more input from you.
yeah, something just occurred to me. There is additional timeframes that are required as part of the change in law. And while we're asking your board to make that determination today of or start the process of determining its surplus property, we're not receiving proposals until April. We have a lot of time to have anybody else who responds to this as surplus property to approach us for alternative uses. And we'll hear that.
Is there wisdom, Jeff, in putting this matter off so you guys can meet and have some, because we're sort of conducting now a meeting in public here, and I don't know that it's the most helpful environment. If not, and you think we can resolve it here, well, I'm happy to do that too.
I think we can continue with the process. We're open to hearing if any school, government agency, or any of the other appropriate people approach us. There's plenty of time between now and when we accept bids that we are compelled to entertain their offers.
I see. Thank you for that input. Please have a seat, and we may call you back up. Ms. Glover, if you could come forward. And I'm not sure if those comments address your concerns or, if there's something else that you really want us to know.
Sure, and thank you again for this opportunity to speak, and I apologize if I went out of order earlier. That's my error. So I just to save time, I wouldn't reread the comments that I had already had. I do hope that they are incorporated just to the record of what I've said so far, and I would like to continue with my statement and then just add on.
Okay.
Yes, okay. The county didn't mention the Surplus Lands Act or quote any of its provisions in the attachments to the agenda item. Since the county intends to declare the land as surplus and initiate the notice of intent, we request that the county inform the public of its assessment of whether this land is subject to the Surplus Lands Act and how it reached this assessment, and also how it plans to take steps to comply with its requirements. Diligent application of the Surplus Lands Act is vital given the statewide importance of housing, open space, local residents' desire for more affordable housing options and recreational spaces. And as I've mentioned before, Kern County's noncompliance with the 4th and 5th cycle rezone is another reason why this is another site to consider for affordable housing to meet that requirement. The approximate 2.6 acre site is centrally located and would be ideal for additional community space or for affordable housing. Thank you, Mr. Hill, for the comments. It answers some of the questions. It appears that the time frame is not, that the time frame may have what is needed to comply with it, but we do still have the same concerns because the resolution did not mention the Surplus Lands Act, and that's what had raised our attention to make sure that we address this issue. And I don't necessarily agree that the county doesn't need this land. I know that residents that we work with have communicated that they would love more space for community centers as well as affordable housing. And so any work that the county can do to commit to their to requirements to zone enough land for housing and also take steps to provide housing and recreational spaces for the community, the county could do, has a great opportunity here to reserve this site for that purpose.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Glover. Jeff, do you want to respond to any of that? And are those deficiencies, I guess it's a better question for council, but are those deficiencies as outlined prohibit us from moving forward today? Procedurally, where are we? And if you could respond.
I'm going to probably respond by looking to Brian with council. He's Mr. Van Wyk is who we worked with to determine that. We do reference the government codes that require the additional reporting within the resolution and/or the board letter. Brian can pick those out specifically, but I believe I believe the verbiage meets the requirements to continue to move on.
Okay, we'll see what council says. Did you want Jeff to respond to any of the comments that were made? I certainly would appreciate the two of you getting to know each other, and, you know, I think those conversations can really go a long way, obviously. Jeff's a great man, and I so admire your work in this community. So, you know, I think we can get on the same page, and whatever we're missing can be addressed. I believe that. So can I get some insight from council, please, about the procedural issue, but also anything that you think is appropriate given what you've heard today?
Certainly, Madam Chair. I have asked Brian Van Wyk to work with the department on this. However, he will be able to direct you to where in the proposed ordinance or the resolution, the section that refers to the code sections that I think she asserts are missing, that there actually are included. And then Brian will be able to answer any other questions.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. So the issue here is whether the Surplus Lands Act is mentioned in the resolution. The staff cites Government Code Section 54221 et sec. Those are the provisions that are the surplus lands law. These provisions, we have complied with them. So far, staff has sent out the notice of availability that's required under that law. We set the date out with ample time to provide for negotiations as that occurs, and we believe this does comply with that law.
Okay, so can you, do you have some sense about why there's some confusion? And it's confusing to me already, so I can only imagine for others.
Absolutely. When these laws get passed, sometimes there's different names that they go by. This is known as AB 1486, for example. It's also called the Surplus Lands Law or the Surplus Lands Act. How we've described it in our resolution is by the Government Code Section 54221, and the related sections. They all refer to the same thing.
Okay. Semantics, maybe, but confusing, as you can see, right?
It's technical, yes.
Okay. Ms. Glover, you want to respond again?
Thank you for the opportunity to respond again, and thank you for the clarity in what's in the full resolution. The notices, I do have just a question to pose. The notices that were sent out, you said about a week ago, from the, to, for example, the Housing Authority and other agencies that are within the statute?
I believe that in speaking with staff, I believe they've sent out 2 rounds of notices related to this.
Okay, it's not referenced, at least in what I had seen, so that might be my error, but I will speak with Mr. Hill further to get a copy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time and interest. And Jeff, thank you for coming down and teaching me something today. I certainly appreciate it. Okay, any other members of the public that would like to weigh in on this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, return to my colleagues for action or input. Gentlemen?
Madam Chair, I have
Yes.
a question.
Supervisor Maggard, again, my apologies.
This is not the most precise way, where's Jeff Hill? This is not the most precise way to look up property, but I have a custom of looking up addresses when we're talking about these things. And when I drop a pin on the address of 999 East California Avenue, it is the old Veterans, it drops on top of that Veterans building. And when I drop a pin on 1016 South Owen Street, it's the pool. So are you, the pool that's just to the south of it, are you proposing, so make it clear for us, please, is this completely barren, undeveloped soil that has nothing on it, or is it a building and a pool?
I can't speak to the accuracy of Google and dropping the pin, but I will tell you that the piece of land that we do have is that piece of land, I'm sorry, Supervisor Maggard through the chair. The piece of land is a developed corner that has a ancillary building and a vets building and a parking lot and developed.
It's the building that kind of faces to the northeast and the parking lot's kind of towards the corner That's the thing, right?
Supervisor Maggart, through the chair,
So
correct.
it's not the pool or the other recreational facilities behind it?
It is not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the clarification, Supervisor. Anybody have a motion that, to move this matter forward? Anyone? Not all at once. It is. And I will certainly support staff's recommendation in moving forward. I would ask my colleagues
In
to
that
make the
case, I'll
motion.
make the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Motion and second, please cast your vote.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Excellent, thank you. And Mr. Hill, thank you for the connection today, and I think that will be a very productive relationship. So again, thank you. That brings us to the end of our meeting this afternoon. We are ready to adjourn and return February 4th, 2020 at 9 a.m. Thank you, Mick Gleason. So ordered.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.